If you're to believe what you hear, and remember politics is mostly spin, a word I hate, but Jacinda Ardern has moved to close the gap between New Zealand and Australia on China policy. We're told the trans-Tasman allies are united over things like Beijing's human rights abuses. Reports say that Ardern has pushed back against the perception that her government was taking a soft line on Beijing. Our Prime Minister attacked, quote, those far from here who would seek to divide us, unquote, reference, of course, to China. Ardern refuted suggestions that New Zealand had pursued a different policy from that of Australia on trade and human rights, quote, as they relate to China, and that she remained, quote, very committed, unquote, to the Five Eyes intelligence sharing network. That's Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom and the United States. Funny that, isn't it? It's only weeks ago that Ardern expressed reluctance to use the Five Eyes intelligence sharing network to call out bad behaviour by China. She suggested we should be more respectful in our dealings with Beijing. Why would the Chinese government's media mouthpiece, the Global Times, prior to the meeting between Ardern and Morrison at the weekend, praise the Ardern administration for its, quote, political wisdom and sobriety and its, quote, more peaceful and friendly stance towards China? Scott Morrison needs to be careful about any assurances from Ardern. China is using New Zealand's dependence on Chinese trade to drive a wedge through the relationship between us and our friends over the ditch. I would have preferred our Prime Minister to say plainly that we are New Zealand's only ally in the Asia-Pacific region. And whatever our differences on other things, we should support one another in times of crisis. Surely when you look at New Zealand's defence capability, you're left wondering what choice New Zealand has. A navy with a couple of thousand full-time sailors, 2 Anzac-class frigates, 9 other vessels, but they're mostly patrol vessels, not built to naval standards. The New Zealand Army has fewer than 5,000 full-time troops, 100 or so light armoured vehicles. The Air Force has 51 aircraft, 2,500 full-time airmen and airwomen, but no air combat capabilities. It'd do no harm for Mr Morrison to remind Jacinda Ardern that we're here for them, and cozying up to China can only lead to encouraging the Chinese to believe that they've got the potential for a New Zealand satellite state. Presumably, though, China can read the New Zealand Hansard, where one Labor MP, Kieran McAnulty, says, quote, yes, I'm a socialist and I'm proud of it. Angie Warren-Clark then said, what a pleasure it is to speak after my colleague, my comrade, Kieran McAnulty. These are all in Ardern's team. Duncan Webb, well, there are so many of us great socialists on this side of the House. Deborah Russell, I stand here as a very proud member of the great Socialist Democratic Labor Party. Anna Lorke, I'm a socialist. And the Greens, Ricardo Menendez-March, the Green Party will continue working hard to offer our support to Labor to enact genuine, bold socialist policy, unquote. I wonder, did these people tell New Zealanders during the election campaign that they were proud socialists? Why wouldn't they be? In 2008, Ardern herself was elected president of the International Union of Socialist Youth. They're a cosy little outfit. I wonder whether they've met with New Zealanders who escaped socialist regimes in China, Venezuela, Cambodia and the Soviet Union. Now, Ardern would have you believe she questions human rights issues as they relate to China. What about Venezuela or the Soviet Union, swarming with your socialist mates? In fact, socialists outspokenly reside in the bosom of the New Zealand Ardern government. There's a great aphorism in life: leopards don't change their spots. New Zealanders and our own Prime Minister, beware.